Hey guys, welcome back to Heart of the Hero, Tools for Successful Minds. I'm really glad I got that right on the first time. I've been practicing. Um, we're gonna get into some stuff tonight. What we got going on tonight, Greg?
Today we are talking about confidence, but it's a little more nuanced than what most people might expect. We're talking about confidence in the sense of how how it affects your success as an individual, where you're going, and really ties more into your goals than anything else, rather than kind of a feel good like you can be confident, like not so much that, more as you can use it as a tool, like to actually grow your life. That makes
Mm.
sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see a lot of. I can see. I've already can start to see a lot of areas where this is an effective tool to uh, grow status in important people's minds. Like I can think about how I used to use it at my job to get promoted, and there's lots of different areas where the more confident you appear, a lot of times can make up for any other areas that maybe like are small things, nitpicky things. People can kind of look over that because man, they seem so confident, they're firm and sure about themselves and sure of themselves. So you can kind of get a lot of leeway from supervisors, and as well as presenting if you're a salesman, presenting a confident front in the product that you're actually presenting. Any area that you whether you're performing, even it's like being confident. Just you're actually confident in what you're doing makes you perform at a different level. It makes you tap
Yeah,
into some.
and I think it changes. Tap in is the word. It's like it
Mm,
changes your own physiology about it, because if you believe not only in yourself, because that's a pretty cliche thing to say, but it's almost like you can believe in what you're doing more because you know that there's a confidence behind it, sort of to back that. And I think a lot of people miss this distinction where, and it's pretty easy to see the distinction, which is that your confidence is actually controlling sort of what you're doing in life, right? And we can get into that a little bit later, but this is why it's so important to actually understand, right? Not just to hear it, but to understand why your confidence, your level of confidence, your confidence in yourself, your confidence in maybe your business or who you're talking to, whatever it is, your own skill sets, understanding why that's useful to you across multiple domains. And I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit for maybe some of the listeners who are tuning in right now.
mm. And confidence is if you want to go physiologically,
Mm,
how do you appear when you're confident? How do you when you show up, when somebody comes up to you to ask a favor, or ask something, and you ask you a question, and they come up and they're really, their kind of shoulders are slumped down, and they're not really making eye contact. They're kind of just and kind of beating around the question because they don't really want to ask, and like if a person, like that wouldn't appear confident to you, right? So like if
right.
somebody walked up to you and was just very quick to the point, looking you dead and straight in the eyes, put it out there like, hey, I need this isn't working out, we got to do something about this right now, and they just waited for your response. That's like, oh, okay, that's a call to action. It's like, oh, okay, this is
Mm,
clearly important, and so sometimes it's important to understand how you're presenting yourself, how your posture, what's your posture telling you, or telling about yourself. What's your face look like? What do are you in control of these things? Are you kind of you looking down at the floor, or are their feet, or are you looking them in the eyes? Are you are your shoulders up? Are you presenting yourself like, are you actually sure of yourself, or are you kind of slouched down and seeming timid and uneasy? A lot of times these type of things, like when you get confident, you're very bold. You're not worried about these small ancillary things.
mm,
You're straight to the point. You need something. You're not worried about what they're gonna think, what they're being coming on too strong. You're not worried about any of that, because you need something, or you're sure of yourself and you're sure about what you have to say. So you present this kind of united front of just like uh, of confidence, and building that, and so being confident is in yourself, kind of is kind of the first step, but also understanding what you are like and the benefits from that. When you actually do appear confident, what are the benefits that you can get from I don't know. What do you think are some benefits that you can get from actually controlling your physique? Presenting good posture, or good facial expressions. What's some things that you think?
Well, I think probably the number one thing is your own ability, your own personal ability to know your own sort of cognitive skill sets, and that's a fancy way to say what you can do, because it's one thing to be able to say, right? It's one thing to be able to say, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and write that on paper. Maybe you put it in a resume, or there could be a situation where someone you're talking to is asking you about what you can do, and you can say these things. But just because you say it doesn't mean you actually deep down on a deep level, physiologically, psychologically, actually believe that about yourself, right? And it's not some nebulous believe in yourself mantra thing. That's not what I mean. It's more that you get the ability to start to see what it is that you're actually good at doing. Like, I don't know, maybe there's a listener who has never had the experience, or a better way to put it is who's not aware of having had the experience of being fully, deeply sitting in their own confidence. And what I mean by that is you could remember a situation where maybe you're puffed up, right? You're excited, you're happy, you're thinking of positive things, or nothing at all, because you're so deeply enmeshed in the flow of what you're doing that those negative thoughts, right? Those negative habits, those things that sort of creep up inside, right? It's the little monsters with teeth in your head, right? Those things are not there anymore, because you don't have the space for that, right? All that's happening is you are fully aware of that whatever it is you are doing it to the fullest of your ability, to the best of your ability, and you're doing it well, right? It could be a conversation, it could be something at work, it could be a relationship, and maybe you've had a relationship where you've put yourself in a space of full confidence, right? And a lot of people have this experience where they start to notice that people treat them differently. They start to notice that people actually look at them in a different way, because they do. And if you think about it, and maybe you're listening now, I would go as far as to say, all of the people that you would say that you respect, if I were to ask you, would you make a list, or could you think of some people in reality, in the world, in fiction, that you fully respect? All of these people have a very high level of confidence. Now, it could be a false confidence. It could be coming from some other place, right? Maybe they just drank. But a lot of times it doesn't. It comes from experience, right? It comes from understanding the things about yourself that you're good at, what you can do, what you haven't done, and sort of being able to measure that line and walk that line of where it is that you know that you can be. So, in answer to your question, man, I think a lot of the benefit, a lot of the ability that you get is just from being able to see where your own limits are and push them just a little bit farther, because you know that you have the confidence to push that forward. You know what I mean?
Well, and a good way to build confidence too, or one thing I've noticed, at least in my experience and with talking with people, is that kind of one of the main reasons for not having confidence is previous behavioral experience. You've made certain choices for so long, or you've chosen to push things off or not take care of things, or you're slacking on bills, you're slacking on your house, you're slacking at work, or you're just you're not feeling great and you're not really doing anything about it. And so I think often you kind of start off, even to say and say you're already kind of past that, and you're to the place where you're starting to actually make changes and actually do things in your life. And you're not necessarily feeling the confidence yet. I challenge you to push yourself a little harder, and start, adding a little bit more to your day. And what else could you do? What part of your life, could you, improve on, and make decisions and action about that? Because once you start kind of making decisions every day, to take on more and, push yourself even more, once you see that you can, bear that weight, and once you see that like, oh wow, I can do this too, and it just becomes kind of routine, handling this much, it might be tough at first, but after a few days, a week, you've kind of gotten used to it, and that's, wow, you can handle this much, extra, and that builds confidence. You'll literally look at yourself and just be like, oh wow, I can do more than I thought I could. Wow, that's cool. And you kind of get this confidence, you kind of get this energy of excitement, you kind of want to go do more because you're like, oh, I can tackle stuff. I got this. Like I can take care of business. Let's do this. And rather.
I got a question because something kind of popped into my head that I think there might be some people who are not confused, but maybe curious about something that you said a little bit earlier, which was, and it resonated with me. It was to push yourself, and then you sort of extrapolated on that. But specifically when you say to push yourself, right? Could you maybe talk about a little bit of the mental game of pushing yourself? Because everyone talks about, you need to do this thing and take this action and all that stuff. And we'll get to a little bit of that in a while. But it's almost like sometimes people forget the mental game of really pushing yourself into confidence, right? And I think for some people, and I've been in this situation myself, and I'm sure there's many listeners, and maybe you identify with this if you're hearing this now, that they're unable to get outside of their own perspectives about what they can and can't do, right? So maybe someone has told you, like, this is what your value is. Maybe you've determined this based on your life. You don't have money. So what would you say some of the mental game things that they could just start doing, or maybe even think about doing, to push themselves to the next level as far as understanding their own confidence? Is there anything you could think about maybe in that area?
I mean, it's one of those areas where you'll find along the way there's only so many areas that I think you pull from, right? And one thing that I'm going to talk about often is apparently awareness, and the awareness that you need to have of your own perspectives of yourself, who you are as a person, and the goals that you have and the things that you need to do. You need to kind of be. And so some of the mental work is getting to a level of full understanding of all things that need to be taken care of in yourself, emotionally, mentally, and in actual reality, and the things that need to be accomplished to get the things that you want done. And so there's the mental work is kind of addressing and calling out all areas of issue that need to be worked on, and even the areas that you feel like you're fine in, even just adding some extra practices in there to get those on next level too. It's all about seeing your shortcomings in all areas of your life, seeing the tasks that are necessary, and then even along the way, like and documenting it. Like I'd say along the way documenting this, because
document it.
Yeah, you actually want to write this stuff down, because it's a lot to keep track of. I've got I can hold a lot, but I have a very large notebook because I cannot keep track of it all. And there's time where you'll be focused on. You guys have probably experienced something like this. What at least I know I have, where you have this focus on one area, and you're really hyper focused, and you're getting stuff done, you're being really productive. And then you have this other area that comes in where you've got to now split your attention between these two things, and then this other one. And then after a while you keep adding things. It's kind of like this one falls out a little bit, you kind of slip, and then you forget. Well, you have so many things that you need to make sure you're staying to be the most optimal and the most efficient and productive. You need to be aware of all these. Because you can do this without doing this, but what we're trying to, I think, convey here is that confidence makes this easier to do. And if you develop the right mental habits, be fully aware of the things that you want to do, your shortcomings, who you are as a person, and what you want, if you document that and fill that out and become very aware of that, then it becomes a lot easier to monitor your life and monitor your own behavior, and, as well as, okay, like I know exactly all the things I need to be looking at. And then throughout your day, you'll remember these things. And when you see yourself kind of slipping in a way, you're just like, like I'm not doing that. And it gives you an opportunity for growth, to make a decision to make a change rather than continue in old habits and old routines. And, so that's kind of some of the mental game is breaking some old habits and old conditioning that used to be there.
Well, I think because I've thought about this myself, sort of in preparation for today's show. I think a lot of people, they hold this. It's a very deep belief, and it's a fairly common thing. So if maybe this strikes you, don't feel any type of way. It's a good thing to be aware of. But they hold some sort of belief that limits them as a person, and I don't mean that in any esoteric sense. I mean, it's as if It's as if you've sort of cobbled your way into the bathroom, or stuck yourself in a hole, however you want to see that, right? It's like you have beliefs, you have perspectives, and what they're doing is they're dictating the way that you see the world, right? And a lot of those have to do with your own abilities, your own perspectives about your own self. So my question that maybe you could chew on for a second is is there maybe a way that a person and you could be listening at the moment, right? I don't know, but if someone was hearing this now and they had the perspective, they were thinking to themselves that they felt like they didn't ever have the ability to have confidence, to hold confidence, right? And it was deeply ingrained, whatever that means, right? If it was something that was so palpable to that person, what would you maybe say to them that might spark something in their mind, or open some new doors that they're just not aware of right now about who they could become if they made the decision?
Well, I mean, I don't think, I don't think it's a popular belief, to feel like perspectives dictate kind of like what we do, where kind of our own self view has some effect on the decisions that we make. We like to feel like we're very in control, and most times we are in control, but it seems like we have a tendency to allow ourselves to remain still, and not actually start doing anything, because like you said, you kind of get these have these beliefs about ourselves and our own skill levels and our own abilities, that those perspectives kind of limit us in what we do. Because so I mean, it honestly, the idea that you need to, you really just need a change in perspective. You really need to understand that confidence is something that happens because of the right, the right setting, the right situation, the right circumstances, if you will. It's a reaction to things outside. So the external and internal. And it's an emotion that's it can be practiced. It's not something that's automatically just, oh, okay, I'm confident now. Like, you have to be able to understand that maybe, if, for instance, if you haven't really been very confident, up until now, you probably have kind of been aware of that and told yourself things and had conversations with yourself, not just conversations, but, little thoughts in your head about like, oh, well, I'm just not very good at that. Or, oh, I don't know, I don't like putting myself out there. Or, I just, I like to be in the outside. I don't like to be in the center of attention, and you tell yourself these things, and you kind of build this kind of persona of, oh, I don't like these things. I don't actually want to, do these things. And I'm this type of person. And you want to just be careful, because sometimes you can prevent yourself from trying new things, taking action, even just living life in a way that you might enjoy, just because you have convinced yourself that you're a certain type of person that doesn't do certain type of things that would maybe be seen as more confident, outgoing.
So it's almost like you bottleneck yourself. Is that kind of what you're getting at? Like it seems like you're saying that a person could actually bottleneck themselves into a perspective like that.
Yeah, and again, it's something, and confidence is something that's practiced. If you haven't been confident up till now, if you're it's where you just pick an opportunity to actually show some confidence. There's something you're good at, there's something you're skilled at, there's something that you could talk about for an hour or two. I feel like most people have something in their lives that they could probably talk pretty confidently on. So like, find an opportunity to be able to get to show a confident side, and then just do it, because doing it once, you'll feel the rush. Your heart will be pumping, you'll be all excited and giddy, because you're like, oh man, yeah, that was exciting, and it's one of those things that you have to do repeatedly too, and try in different areas, and maybe try putting yourself out there in small areas, and being a more outgoing kind of confident person with people, and trying to exert more confident practices, because if you've been in a practice, you're in a routine of doing things and behaving in a way that is non-confident. You need to start just taking on the behavior of somebody who was confident, because that's all being confident is you know, I mean, you know, you look at a confident person, and how do you know that person is confident? You know, the person's confident by, you know, the things that they say, how they say them, how they say it when they say them, and in the behavior that they show, you know, and taking action and doing things. So, you know, it's kind of all of those things that shows confidence. And so, but it's not that person. That person isn't inherently identified as I am confident. It's just no confidence. It's something that they show, you know, and so for people that, if you know a confident person in your life, if you're around confident people, you know, you can find them on the internet. YouTube's really big. You know, and you just do what confident people do, you'll find yourself behaving confidently, because that's all that there really is confidence is just being sure enough in yourself to take risks. You know, it's and so it's not something that necessarily is just flip a switch. It's there and I'm 100% confident. No, you have to, if you're not used to being confident, you need to build a habit of showing your confidence in different ways, whether it be in your work or your personal life.
Well, I think a big addition to that, and kind of one of the things that I see a lot of people really slouch on, is, and this is going to come with a whole lot of baggage and connotation, but maybe let that go, is the idea that you need to move outside of your comfort zone. You've probably heard that, right? You know, move outside of your comfort zone, but it's not, I don't mean that in the sense of like, you know, do some hanky thing that like you've never done. And that's one way you could do it, right? What I mean is, in life, there's a lot of situations where you set up these routines, right? And then they're very sticky. Right? They're very sticky. You walk through them and your feet can't move because you've set the routine on such a deep level that you're not thinking when you're doing it. You're barely even present, right? You know, maybe you're on your phone and you're texting, you know, while you're in the bathroom or while you're doing whatever, right? Like these are just automatic sort of behaviors. Well, I think one of the big things that people could maybe take home and start to, you don't have to use it, right? But you could hold on to it and think about it, because it's not hard to do, and you have so many opportunities throughout the day that you could just start doing it, is to take small steps, right, outside of your comfort zone. Let's say that, you know, maybe you're at work, or, you know, maybe you're at school, or wherever it is that you go to on the daily, right? And there's a conversation, right? But it's a conversation you don't like. It's a conversation that you don't want to be a part of. Like you have no interest in being involved with that at all. And I think a lot of people have had that experience where it's like you go there, right? And you're like, yeah, what they're talking about right now is really stupid. Like, I don't want to do that, like whatever. Well, that is an opportunity for you. That's an opportunity for you to go and practice, right? Practice being confident in a situation that you don't even want to be in, right? And a lot of life is like that. You're in situations that you don't want to be in, but you have to show people, and this is key, because people really respond. People really respond to other people who know what they're doing, and I mean that in the strongest sense of the word, right? Not to disparage anyone, but a person who knows what it is that they're actually going to do, a person who has a strong direction, right? You know, you walk in with your head held high, and, you know, you're making eye contact and you're shaking hands and all this kind of thing, right? Well, that comes from a place of, I know what it is that I need to do today. I know what it is that I need to do right now. I need to know what it is that you can do to help me, because I know where I'm going, right? And that attitude, right? It sort of comes off of people. It'll hit you in waves, and you kind of get taken aback, because that kind of person is the exact type of person that will earn your respect without doing a whole lot. And you could be that person. You could choose to be that person by putting yourself in very small, out of your comfort zone situations, right? Maybe there's a game that you want to go to, right? But you didn't go because the tickets were too expensive, and you didn't have the money because you didn't want to move it around, or whatever the situation. It could be a million things, right? It could be a million different things that will push you just outside of your comfort zone, and you might think, how does that make me more confident? Like, how is that actually going to make me more confident at all? Well, a lot of what actually being confident is, right? Because you'll hear this a lot of times where people talk about what confidence is in the sense of relation to other people, social settings, having conversations with bosses. And that's true. Those things are important. But even more so than that is your own confidence in what you're doing, right? Where you're going, who you are as a human being. So when you start to take these small risks, when you start to push yourself to these new heights, these new levels, what actually happens in your own self, you might notice, is they become easier. And they become easier, and they become easier, and they become easier. And eventually what happens is you've become the person that you previously thought was confident, because you've pushed yourself far enough outside of your comfort zone that your brain, your mind has turned that, right? Has turned that into texting. It's turned that into, eating with a fork with the right hand, because it's a habit, right? It's habitual. Being the confident person, being in your own space, right? Running the room, whatever it means to you, right? It could be asking for a raise, but it means that behavior is internalized. So I think it's important for people to maybe remember that and actually keep that close, because it's something that you could choose to begin to do. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think what you'll find is that, like you said, confidence is really just going outside of your comfort zone, right? Like why would we even have a word for confidence if it was easy to be confident? Like you're going to be challenged in some way, and that's really one of the main ways that being confident challenges you. Is that's what you see in confident people, is they're willing to do things that are outside of not only your comfort zone, but maybe even outside theirs, and they do it seemingly within stride. And so that kind of habitual behavior is very helpful, especially because the process of what you're doing is continually going outside of your comfort zone. And when that habit of going outside of your comfort zone is internalized, like you said, you just think what will happen in 6 months with that habit. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you get, how far you go, you'll constantly be in this habit of pushing yourself. You'll have this immense confidence that people will be looking at you like, what do you do? Who are you? You were not doing this 6 months ago. Who are you? You know what I mean? Like, how are you just have the confidence now? I remember after I started my study and was really getting started towards a business, and my brother just kind of asked me, he's just like, man, where do you get the energy to do that stuff? And it's just like, and the thing is, at that time I had been doing stuff every day for just months, just constantly adding more. How much could I take on? Because I saw the progress that I made just from the little amount that I had done. It was like, well, okay, what if I double that? And then when you start, it was like the more you can put on your shoulders and carry, the more confidence you get. You know what I mean? Without tripping and falling. If you're just like, man, how much can I carry? Shoot, let's see. And that's kind of later. If you're kind of towards the end, or not towards the end, I should say, it's really never over. You're kind of always in need of confidence. But if you're kind of already one of those people who've kind of dealt with the initial getting started, building a good habit, and you already have a good habit, then honestly your challenge, and what you need to do is add more. And don't tell me you can't, because I know there's more stuff that you can do or take care of. Nobody's got their entire life by the reins. And so how can you challenge yourself if you've got to say, oh, well, I've got good habits, or, I do things every day, and, I don't know, I don't really have a problem with confidence. Well, okay, but could you be doing more? Could you have more confidence? How would having more confidence benefit you? Like how would changing your behavior and taking action build another good habit of constantly challenging yourself to keep challenging yourself? It's this kind of cycle of never letting yourself let up until you have the things that you want. And that's kind of where confidence ties into success, where it's like you kind of you have to be, especially, most of us, I think, are fairly ambitious in this day and age. We it's very known the kind of careers and lifestyles that we can live. And so we all kind of have these, dream goals and careers that I consider fully possible for anybody that can do anything that they want to do, as long as they're willing to put forth the effort and the time that it takes to get there. And, and that's simply what I honestly believe, that's as simple as that everything in the world requires a certain amount of things of you, or requires a certain amount of sacrifice from you, and time and steps to be taken. And it's your choice whether you choose to go do that. It's your choice. And when you make that choice, that's where confidence is a really big key factor here. This is kind of a side benefit here. Think too, you want to focus on this early, because you don't want to make decisions about your future from a timid, I don't really know, maybe kind of mindset. You want to be like, no,
Why? Why would someone, and this is key, because that makes a lot of sense when you say that to me. But why would you not want to make a you know, like big life decisions from a place of, you know, timidity, and why did you say that? What made you say that?
I mean, it's, I mean, I guess who do you want, who do you want steering the ship? You know, okay, like if you okay, we're gonna go desert island scenario here. Okay, like we're
Right.
on a raft and we're all like trying to escape this desert island that we, had crashed on months earlier. You know, and we've made this raft, right? And we've got this, those pieces of the ship, and it's pretty cool. You can steer with it. You know, you got the rudder, you got the sail, the rope. It's full castaway style. You know, and you're doing this, and then there's like 3 or 4 of us, right? And it starts to get a little rough, right? And the sea starts to get a little rough. And like, and there's like, he's like, anybody else want to like steer? I can't really handle this. You know, anybody else want to take the reins? And the first person's like, I don't know. I don't know. And the next person's like, yeah, I got this. Let's do it. Do you want to switch now? Like, who are you picking?
True.
And not only that, to bring it back more real life, like, you'll find if you take a timid, self-doubting mindset towards your decision making, because that honestly happens early. You kind of got to decide what you want and to do before you do anything. You got to decide. And so it's important to have confidence from the get-go, because if not, you're going to pick some goal that you don't really want, or it really isn't that like ambitious. It's just kind of this like, well, I made this decision when I really didn't think I could do anything. So now I'm going to just finish this out and go do this job that I don't, I could. You still have this thing that you want because you didn't have the confidence in yourself when you made the decision to go for it. You looked at the amount of requirements, you looked at the amount of effort required and the sacrifices required of you to get that. And you said, I can't do that. There's no way. And that's why you want confidence early on, because you want to be able to look at all the options with the idea that you can achieve all the options, because that confidence gives you all the options. It's like, well, okay, I can do any of these. So like, which one do I want to do? Because you can do any of them, but you don't if you don't have that mindset, you're thinking, okay, I can't do any of those. I can't do any of those. I got like these 3 are okay. And like, this one's really not my location. This one's really not practical. So, okay, I guess here's how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Who, I don't know about you, but I have far too long spending making my life decisions like that. It's the old ways for me now, but you have to have confidence when you're making decisions so you can choose what you actually want to do, not choose something that's fear disguised as practicality, to quote Jim Carrey.
No, and that's true. And I kind of want to. I didn't really think this would even come up, honestly, but it's just kind of appearing now. I want to really slide in here and make this known. I want to make this known for anyone who's listening right now, and this resonates with you in a deep way. Something's going to happen in your mind, and it's going to fuck you. So really pay attention.
Oh, I don't know if we can say that on YouTube.
What it is? We're good. We're good. Because this is one of those moments, right? Because this is one of those defining moments where you're going to make a decision, and it's going to probably affect the rest of your life. And I don't say that lightly, because your ability, you heard, maybe what Dan was talking about with the options, right? Well, what if you could pick from any 100,000 things in any domain, anywhere, in any skill, and be fully confident that you could do that? Like what if that was a possibility, right? So what's going to happen, and it will really mess you up. So look for it. Your mind, right? The conditioned mind, the raptor, right? It's eating at you, and it's going to tell you. This is what you're going to hear. Say, well, those are some interesting points. Those are some interesting points, but that's not practical. That's not realistic. That's high in the sky. Like, there's no way that I could actually do that as a person. So I'm going to do this instead. So this is a more rational decision for me to make over here, but it's not. It's not. And I'll tell you why it's not. Because if you dig down far enough, if you dig down low enough, what you'll start to notice is that everything that you are choosing, every belief that you have, is founded on a decision. It's a choice. It's your own perspective about it. And you saying, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. based on facts, based on evidence, based on belief, all those good things, right? But at the end of the day, who's choosing to believe it? It's you. So what's going to happen, and really watch for this, because this is the exact time that you're going to start to feel this. It's a very low grade resistance. Is you're going to push this aside and you're going to say, well, confidence is great, and this is a great talk, and I'm glad that you guys are getting all hype and sharing this stuff, but I'm a realistic person. I have goals, but I don't want to push myself too far, because that stuff's not real. Like, no one can really do that. And I'll tell you why you believe that, because the people around you have either told you that, or you see them and they're not succeeding in the ways that you would like to succeed. Because what if you could, right? What if you could succeed in the ways that you wanted to actually make things happen, right? Maybe it's making more money, or maybe it's going somewhere new, or talking to more people, or talking to less people, or getting a dog, or getting a new job. All of these things are options, but they're only options for a person who's actually confident they can pull these things off. So watch for that voice in your head that tells you to be realistic, because it's not true. And it's not even that useful. It's just there. So really be aware of that.
Well, and let me just let me just challenge, not challenge what you say there, but I want to challenge the listener and say, let's define the word. Let's define realistic, because like, realistically, there's a school in every state. There's several schools in every state. There's grants, there's loans, there's internet access everywhere. You can take online courses. There's a system that's been set up for everyone to succeed, and it's called America. And you can do whatever you actually want to do. They've put it on a website for you. Well, that's my website, with all this information to figure out how. Like, there's people even nice enough to like make how-to house, and give you the steps at like how to go figure it out. And you can go get any information you want. You can do anything you want, because it's America. And I'm sorry if you don't live in America, but if you live in America and you actually have things that you want, let's be realistic. There's a system there for you to get it done. And all you would realistically have to do is take the steps necessary and sacrifice what is necessary. But realistically, you're probably not going to do that.
Well, and I want to kind of piggyback on that point too, because some people,
I'm sorry, that ending
might
was
not
harsh.
be here. No, even if you're not here, your excuses are dead. Unless you pick rice,
not helping you.
Your excuses are gone, because you got the phones. You got the phones. Everything that you need is there, right? You can call people. Yeah. You could email Oprah today. You could, you
might get a bot, but
you might get you might not get a response. But what if you emailed every celebrity on the internet? Someone would respond. I mean, just statistically, it's really likely that one of those people would respond to you. Now, whether the response is good or bad, who knows, right? But if you've got 50,000 people that you could just hit up, because there's nothing stopping you, right? And this is one idea. This is one idea in 2 seconds. So it's like, once you orient yourself towards, I can do this, I can do whatever it is that my goals are, I can make this stuff happen, things will just start to happen for you, because you have all the opportunities already. The only reason that you can't see them is because you don't believe that they're there, right? It's the matrix in your head. He's talking about, oh, well, I can't do that. Oh, well, I can't do that. Well, those were options, right? You just said you couldn't do them for whatever reason. So I think a huge part of internalizing this is just recognizing that you are in control. You are in control to actually make the decisions about whether or not you can feel that or not.
Yeah, and a lot of that can just, again, to circle back to awareness. You have to be kind of aware of the productive thoughts that you have versus the negative self-destructive thoughts. You need to be aware of what's important for you to think about, what's important for you to be focusing on, because if you're not really aware of that and you're kind of just letting your mind run willy-nilly, wherever it wants, it's going to end up weird places. We're pretty complex people. We have, we got like, we will fantasize about things. We'll think about what our friends are doing. We'll stare at a button on the floor if it gets us away from what we're doing in front of us. And so, you know, and I think some of the bad habits that we've built over time kind of are what causes our low confidence. I think one thing I can say so far in my journey is that behavior change is just the number one key to most suffering. You know, like behavior change is the key to alleviation of suffering. You know, if you want things, let's be honest, the reason you want something different than what you have now is because what you have now isn't necessarily satisfying you. And you need to be confident when moving into this area of change in your life so that the decisions that you make, you know, keep you afloat.
I got a question, and this is kind of starting to close up shop. Yes,
I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from either, but could be useful. Maybe we'll use it
in my hands at some point.
I'm thinking about action, because in the title here, we're kind of making a promise, which is
promise.
Yeah, we explained all this stuff, but also it's how to use it. So it's how to use it. So if someone they're on board, right? You know, like, because it's not hard to like see this stuff. You just don't believe it, right? So maybe you still don't believe it, but I'm choosing to believe that if you're listening now and you've gotten this far, this resonates.
Gotten this far,
right? It's just like, you know, you're already here.
I was pretty mean earlier, so
that probably killed half the group, but the half the viewership, they're in it, right? Like, yeah, we're good.
We wanted, just to be clear, if you've made it here, we wanted you. We didn't want everybody else that wasn't really ready to make these changes. Just to be clear about that. Like, we want people that are actually ready to like find the confidence in themselves and find the way to make change. You know, we're speaking to people that are ready to take advice and ready to take, because the advice is so simple. It's really just finding the actual motivation to do it. And so, like, just to be clear, you know, we talk kind of candidly about how, like, oh, if you don't like this, get out. Well, it's not that we don't care about those people too, but it's that we really just don't care about those people. We care about the people that are ready to make change. We care because I can't do anything for you if you won't listen and you won't take advice, and you won't at least just take one thing from this and then maybe apply it to your life. You know, allow this to actually help you, because that's why you're listening to this. That's why you should be. And if you're not listening to this because you like intend on getting something out of it, then that's kind of why we talk about that a little bit, as far as like, if you're here still, because some people don't make it this far. Some people like start hearing it and they're like, I don't really want to hear it.
No, and you'll have all kinds of reactions to it too, or it's just like, you know, some people they'll have, because you're reacting to everything you know you should do. Like, if you're not happy, and we're probably going to end up talking about this a whole lot, right? Because you know, behavior change is a big part of just success in general. It's important. But if you're truly not happy with your situation, but you're not happy enough to take some information or to think about making behavior changes, you're not unhappy enough yet. I'm just gonna be real. You're not unhappy enough yet. You got too much money in the bank. You got too much food coming in. You know, you don't have big enough goals. Whatever it is, like, you're not there yet. So if you've hit that point, where you're just, you need it. Like, you want, and this is going to sound weird, right? But you want a little bit of a different life. Like, you want to do more stuff. Like, you want to go more places. You just want to grow, right? Whatever that means for your own life, you want to grow, right? And it's like, when you're there, you kind of know you're there. So you are the audience, right? You are the crew, you're the group. So I think a big part of this is and maybe closing up shop here. If you want to start to take some action, right? Just think about what you've heard, right? And you could remember some of the key points maybe now for yourself, and just take one thing that resonates with you, just anything, and then apply it somewhere, like anywhere. You could apply it anywhere in your life, and make that, you know, take a risk, right? You know, go to a new place, whatever it is. You can use these things as tools for a successful mind. You knew that was coming. But really, you got anything to add, man? Like closing up here, I'm game, because this is a huge topic, and I think it's something that really crosses over a lot of domains. Is your own level of it, right? So it's one of those things I think people really need to kind of listen into.
the heart of the hero.
Oh my God.
It's true. Is a confident heart. Is I mean, you know, you think of a hero, you think of confidence. You know, if we're to be strong and we're supposed to take over our domain and whatever domain we choose, we must be confident. You know, we must
True.
we must take on confident eyes and confident feet. You know, to see where we need to go and take us where we need to be.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. So we're gonna kind of close up here. If you stuck around, we hope you got something out of it. We're gonna keep putting these out. So, you know, stay tuned and maybe perk your ears up and listen in, because there's more to come, and we're gonna get deeper on some.
And
I don't want to say. Go ahead.
Only invite the friends that you think can handle it, because I don't want to make anybody mad unintentionally. You should invite your friends to listen to this, but the ones that you feel like are like actually would benefit from it. You know, we don't want to just, you know, hurt anybody's feelings. Go on, sorry.
Well, or waste your own time, because have you ever been, and maybe if you're listening, you've had this situation where like you have something that's really cool on Facebook or on social media or, you know, YouTube or whatever, right? And like you want to share it with somebody, like maybe it's a funny video or a motivational thing or whatever, and then you're just hype, right? You're on fire for this thing, and you go share it, right? You know, post it in someone's inbox, or, you know, post it to their wall, or send it to a text or whatever, and you just get like an okay, or like some really just completely zero climax response, and you're like, that was valuable to me. Like this was important to me. I wanted to share this with you because I felt like you could get something from it, right? Well, just recognize that when you're taking in information, sort of when you're making changes in life, when you're growing, a lot of people may not be on board with that, and that's okay. That's okay, because they're not you, right? You have control over your own decisions. You have control over where you're going, and some people are just going to not be there yet. So you kind of need to recognize who is in your camp, who is not in your camp, you know, who you're fighting for, who you're fighting against, and where you're going in your own future. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close up, and then I don't know, I guess we'll see you soon.